The object in point, 50 cubic centimeters of protein solution. Living in this solution is a particular type of bacteria, one of the deadliest forms of microbe ever known in the history of mankind. Tonight's case in point, a city of 3 million people. Buildings, stores, factories, homes. And not one of the 3 million is aware of it, but death stands at the door.
Dr. Bailey there, please. Hi, Doctor. This is Frank Strauss, City Public Health. I hate to disturb you this time of the morning, but I think we've got a problem. To begin with, it'll look like viral pneumonia syndrome. Family of 6. One of them had multiple lesions, discharging. I checked smears of the sputum and the discharge. Gram-negative bacilli. Both specimens loaded. Yeah, I know it's hard to believe, but it sure looks like it. Yeah. All right, I'll meet you at the hospital. Right away. Anybody else coming along?
I got in touch with George Walker, the department head of the medical school. He's a good internist.
Uh-huh.
Bringing another man with him, Frank Kawara. Know him?
On staff at St. John's, isn't he?
Yeah. They should be here most any minute now. Relax, son. Time enough for worry later on.
I suppose so.
When did this thing get rolling?
About midnight. One of our men called me, John Pacelli. Said he and one of our nurses answered a routine OB call on the east side of town. Patient's name was Janowski. No trouble delivering the baby. It was a normal birth. The big problem was the rest of the family.
How many are there?
Father, mother, 4 kids. All of them down with it. Pacelli said when he first examined them, it looked like a kind of pneumonitis. It's like viral pneumonia syndrome.
How long have they been sick?
The father, Mr. Janowski, developed swelling in the axillary nodes 6 or 7 days ago. Complained a good deal about the pain. Became very toxic. Day after that, he developed a bad cough, chills, fever. Then the lymph nodes broke down and started draining. He was in a coma when Pacelli examined him.
How about the rest of the family?
Kids came down with it yesterday and Mrs. Janowski today. Same thing, chills, fever, cough. Everything but the swelling of the lymph nodes.
The father, only one with the lesions.
That's right.
It's got all the earmarks, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Have you notified your boss yet, Dr. Henderson?
That's just it. I can't. He's laid up with that coronary.
Oh, he's still out of action.
And will be for another couple of months. Thing like this, his heart wouldn't take it.
So you're still acting head of the department?
That's right.
Well, I wouldn't worry too much, son. Whole thing could be nothing at all. Might be just a scare.
Sure. What if it isn't?
Frank, what's the routine?
We'll have an ambulance sent out right away. How's the nurse? A little frightened?
She's doing fine. What's the verdict?
It's got all the indications. Still can't be absolutely positive.
It's positive enough for me.
What do you mean?
The father, Mr. Janowski, he's dead.
Mr. Mayor, this is Dr. Strauss at City Public Health. I would like to see you within the hour. I realize that, sir, but this is important. It's very important. No, sir, I can't wait. Not even half a day. That's exactly what it means. Life or death. You've heard of it before. They used to call it the Black Death.
The Black Death?
That's one name for it, Mr. Mayor. Bubonic plague, pneumonic plague. Call it anything you like. It's wiped out millions of people before us, and if we're not careful, it'll wipe out millions more.
Oh, let's not get panicky, Doctor. Situation certainly can't be as bad as all that.
No, it's not right now, Councilman, but it could be, believe me.
You're the assistant chief at City Public Health. Is that right?
That's right. I'm in charge until Dr. Henderson gets back.
And there's no chance Dr. Henderson could be brought back for a few days?
No, sir. At least that's what I'm told.
Not that you're not qualified, Doctor. We all appreciate that. It's just that, well, experience, you know, counts a good deal in these matters.
That's what I understand, Mr. Mayor. That's why I've been in consultation since early this morning with the best qualified MDs in this area. Internists, contagion experts, bacteriologists. I met with the chief of county public health, the state and federal men, too. Not one of them has any reasonable doubt this is pneumonic plague.
Well, where did it come from, Doctor? That's what I'd like to know. I thought we were supposed to have the cleanest city in 13 states.
Let me show you where it came from, Councilman. This area right here. This is where the Janowski family lives, right along the river. Our slum area. Substandard housing, cesspools, open garbage cans, perfect climate for swarms of rats. It can happen half a dozen ways, but somehow one of those rats became infected, and so did the fleas that lived on that rat. Apparently, one of the fleas found its way into the Janowski home. The father was bitten. 6 days later, he was dead.
But you're still not positive he died of this pneumonic plague.
No, sir, we're not positive. But like I told you before, we feel there's no reasonable doubt.
Well, when will you be positive, Doctor?
The results of our agglutination test should be in early tomorrow. The cultures and results of the animal inoculations will be ready in 4 to 6 days.
Dr. Strauss, don't you think it would be a lot wiser for us to wait until all these tests are in, until we're absolutely positive?
No, sir, I don't. I don't have any idea right now how far along this plague has gone already. But I can guarantee you this. We let it go, and in another week, it'll spread from one end of the city to another. Maybe even beyond that.
Just a minute, Doctor. Your theory is that this man, Janowski, was bitten by a flea, and that's how he became infected, right?
That's right.
Well, then all we have to do is to fumigate the house and kill off all the fleas. That'd stop it from spreading, wouldn't it?
It's a little more complicated than that, Councilman. Right now, we could kill every rat and flea in the city, and it still wouldn't stop our plague.
What do you mean?
I mean, it would be passed on the same way as it probably was in the Janowski family. You see, once the plague bacteria gets into the body, some of them lodge in the lungs and grow there. Which means from the time the victim becomes infected until the time he dies, each time he coughs or breathes, he expels some of the plague bacteria into the air. You don't even have to touch a plague victim to become a victim yourself. All you have to do is breathe the same air he does, and there's a good chance you'll be dead in 10 days.
Well, what do you propose we do?
This neighborhood around the Janowski home, it's 11 square blocks. This is where our rat population is centered. It's also where the Janowskis made at least 50 contacts in the last 5 days. The entire area will have to be completely quarantined.
What do you mean, completely quarantined?
Just exactly that. It has to be completely shut off from the rest of the city. Everyone in the area will have to stay there. Every single person who's had contact with the Janowskis will have to be isolated and treated. We'll put a barrier up around the entire 11 square blocks. Police officers will have to be posted to make sure that barrier is observed. No one goes in or out except authorized personnel. We'll have to move in with exterminating equipment. The rats in the area will have to be completely eliminated.
Very impressive, Doctor, but not very practical. There must be 2,000 to 3,000 people in that area. They have jobs to go to. They have to have food.
That's right. They have to be fed. They have to be supplied with everything they need by the city.
But we can't. I mean, it's not in the budget. The council won't approve. It's all this talk about Black Death. Do you know what it could do to this city? It could close our port. A plague port. That's what they'd call us.
I understand, Councilman. There's just one point I'd like to make. Today, I'm asking you to quarantine 11 square blocks. A week from now, the quarantine might be out of our hands. And the state will have to quarantine the whole city.
Nonsense.
It's not nonsense, Councilman. You know your history as well as I do. You know what happened when the plague moved over Europe in the Middle Ages? It killed 60% of the entire population. In one Italian city, 10,000 people died from it in a single day. In 3 centuries, it wiped out 60% of Britain. I know this is the 20th century and not the Middle Ages, Mr. Mayor. The world's changed a lot, but the plague hasn't. Time doesn't mean a thing to those microbes. They can spread just as fast and kill just as fast. And give them a chance at the cargo and passengers on our trains and airliners, and we can spread it to every state in the Union. Maybe we can bury 10,000 a day, too.
Excuse me. Hello? Yes, just a minute. For you, Doctor.
Thank you. Dr. Strauss. Yeah, Jim. Oh? Where? I see. All right, I'll be there in a few minutes, thanks. 4 more cases reported, gentlemen. No reasonable doubt. Pneumonic plague.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Assistant Director of the Public Health Department, Dr. Frank Strauss.
Good evening. Some 18 hours ago, it was discovered that a serious health problem had suddenly arisen in this city. The discovery was made by myself, by representatives of the various public health agencies, and by highly qualified medical doctors. The problem is pneumonic plague. Simply explained, pneumonic plague is a bacterial infection spread first by fleas from infected rodents, and then spread further by contact with those persons who have become victims of the disease. It is highly contagious. We have interviewed all known persons who had contact with either of the two families who are victims of the disease. However, if you have any knowledge of any unreported contacts, or you are one of those contacts yourself, I urge you, for your own welfare and the welfare of your neighbors, to report to the Public Health Department immediately.
Frank, is it bad?
Bad enough, honey. It could get worse.
Oh.
What's doing at home? Kids okay?
Still bouncing. I got Mrs. McCormick to babysit. I told her we'd be home late. Hope I'm not wrong. Hun, what's this all about? Day one.
Well, that's the number of days we've had plague in the city. As long as one area is still under quarantine, there's a good chance it might crop up again.
So how long does the quarantine last?
The incubation period is from 2 to 10 days. The last known cases were diagnosed at noontime. And if no more cases come up in the next 10 days, then we lift the quarantine and all go home.
And if there are more cases?
Then we go back to day one and start counting all over again. Each new case takes us back to day one. And when that thing reaches day 10, then we lift the last quarantine, it's all over.
Oh, that's not so bad. 10 days goes fast.
So does the plague. Yes? Yeah, put them on. Well, John, I was just about to call you. And we got the results of the culture tests. Now, just for the books, we're absolutely positive. It is pneumonic plague. How's that? Uh-huh. Oh, whereabouts? Yeah, okay.
Just can't go on, that's all. This plague port thing is ruining business. Our airport's practically shut down. Whole neighborhoods penned up behind ropes, feeding people, taking care of them. It costs money, Doctor, hard money, and it can't go on.
We're doing everything we can, Councilman. Our staff is working night and day. Nothing else to do but wait it out.
But there must be something you can do. Reassure the people, quiet them down. Crowds of them are leaving the city every day. The roads are so jammed, I can't even get my own family out. We've got to act and act now.
What would you suggest, Mr. Mayor?
I don't know. There must be something. How about that doctor, what's his name, the one out in Fairview? He claims he can put an end to this plague thing in 6 hours. Have you talked to him?
He was in to see me.
Well,
Well, number one, he's not a medical doctor. Number two, he's the same man that claimed he had a cure for cancer a couple of months back. Item number three, I think he's a crank. He can't solve this thing in 3 hours any more than we can.
then you tell us, Doctor. You started all this quarantine business. What are we supposed to do? Sit down and twiddle our thumbs and wait for this city to become a ghost town? Now, you got us into this. Now it's up to you to get us out of it.
Day 6, no new cases. Day 7, no new cases. Day 8, still no new cases. Day 9, the city waits. No new cases.
Hello? Yes, this is Dr. Strauss. What's that? When? What part of town? I see. But you're not absolutely sure. No, of course not. By themselves, the symptoms don't mean a thing. Take a specimen of the man's sputum and get it down to the lab as fast as possible. Right. Okay, I've seen enough. Thank you.
Just viewed is a reenactment of an actual happening. It occurred in the city and county of Los Angeles in the summer of 1924. Before the plague ran its course, it took the lives of 33 men, women, and children. One of these was a nurse in the city public health department who gave her life in the battle against the dread scourge. It is to her memory that this program is dedicated.